Hello everyone! By the time this video is out, Fortnite OG is well underway. If you're unaware, one thing that sets Fortnite apart from other games is the constant changes it makes to keep the game fresh and unique. Every few years or so, Fortnite makes big changes to the game, where the map gets changed along with adding new features to the game, such as the no-build mode, movement mechanics, weapons, and everything in between. Doing so essentially makes it that every chapter is pretty much a new game, where some companies release games with minor changes over and over and charges their fans tons of money for these games. Fortnite is completely free. And this season, it gave original and newer fans the chance to go back and experience the first map that has been around for 4 years. So I thought what better way to celebrate this unique time in gaming than to go and take a look at the story in the game that led to the collapse of the original island and the beginning of a new chapter in this era of gaming. But before I get into this story, I want to preface this by saying this video will be taking a look at Seasons 3, 4, 5, and 6 of Chapter 1 in Fortnite. For those of you who don't know and are newer to the Fortnite storyline, this is where the story really started popping off. I'll do another video soon talking about Seasons 7, 8, 9, and X, since I think those four fit nicely into one section together, and a video for Seasons 1 and 2 later on, as well as the backstory of the island in that video. So I hope you look forward to seeing those, but for now, let's jump into the story. So without further ado, I present to you the downfall of the Fortnite island. Season 3 of Chapter 1 started on February 22nd, 2018. At this point, the Battle Royale mode for Fortnite has been out for about 5 months with no story behind it and few map changes besides different locations being put on the map, such as Haunted Hills and the famous Tilted Towers. In lore, the island has been around for much longer, but you can learn more about that in a future video I'll make. Season 3's theme was based on space travel, with different astronaut skins being put in the Battle Pass, and the slogan was Meteor Strike. On March 20th, 2018, many players would look up and notice a meteor in the sky, and as time progressed, it got closer and closer to the island, leading players to believe something big was about to happen. Telescopes and campsites began appearing around the map to watch the meteor, televisions around the map started broadcasting warning signals, and eventually smaller meteors started falling on the island. While there isn't much story in this season, it was a catalyst that set this insane story into motion. So now, on to Season 4. Season 4 opens up with a cinematic showing meteor fragments crashing onto the Fortnite island, causing destruction around the map in places such as the drive-in theater known as Risky Reels, with the biggest portion hitting the warehouses known as Dusty Depot, and forming a giant crater that became known as Dusty Divot. Another meteor fragment crashes down into the prison on the island while a movie titled The Monster of Moisty was being filmed. This meteor gives the notorious villain known as Omega the opportunity to escape amidst the chaos. He's basically an evil version of Iron Man in the sense he has a mechanical suit that gives him special abilities. If we turn our attention towards the north just a few miles, players might come across a newly built mansion just south of the campsite known as Lonely Lodge. At first it might seem as though nothing is out of the ordinary here until you find a strange symbol in the upper floor. Heading down to the basement, a secret base is found with computers, a hologram table, and a hangar. This is a secret base of the heroes of the story. We can see Carbide, Steel Sight, Valor, and Squad Leader looking over the table, making preparations to stop Omega and to prevent him from taking over the world. You can see the similarities between them and other fictional characters, such as Carbide being similar to Iron Man and Valor being similar to Wonder Woman. On the opposite end of the island, right next to the gated community known as Snobby Shores, players might look up towards the mountains and notice a strange building built into the side of the mountain in the shape of a skull. On the inside of this facility is another base with a missile silo and rocket inside being prepped for launch. This is a lair of Omega, and he's preparing his army for a fight. A bit later, the final battle takes place, with heroes and villains fighting in the final showdown. But, as it turns out, this was just a movie being filmed on the island. See, what Fortnite likes to do, similarly to a lot of TV shows, is having every season have a smaller self-contained story, but also having an overarching story over the course of the chapter. In this season, the filmmakers who made the movie I mentioned earlier took advantage of the nearby meteor strikes and filmed the movie. So, you might be asking, how does any of this tie into the downfall of the island? Well, to answer the question, we have to turn our attention back to Dusty Divot. So before we turn our attention to the Divot, there's one thing I forgot to mention when originally recording this. During this season of Fortnite, Thanos from the Marvel Cinematic Universe made his way to the Fortnite island during his quest for the Infinity Stones during Infinity War. I'm sure many of you have heard over the years of different characters being added to Fortnite such as Goku, Batman, Darth Vader, and even Ariana Grande, and so many more. While someone who doesn't know much about Fortnite might think this is just a cool random collaboration, most Fortnite fans will know that each of these collaborations tie into the overall story. but that's a topic for another point in the story. So, for now, just know that Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet appeared on the island for a week before escaping and making his way back to the story Infinity War. But now, back to the Dusty Divot. While some island inhabitants were filming the movie, a facility was being built in the divot around the meteor that was struck there. Fragments of the meteor were scattered around the area and gave players gravity-defying powers. Personnel in hazmat suits from an unknown organization at the time were sent down to investigate the crash site and the strange meteor. There also happens to be a bunker in the forested area known as Wailing Woods, which was speculated at the time where the organization came from. This organization began loading fragments onto trucks, but as this was going on, the main meteor began to break open, revealing a pod, and a character only known as the Visitor emerged. The Visitor is seen in some type of mechanical suit, slightly rusted, and has a display on his helmet, and is one of the Seven, a group that was unknown at the time. He destroyed equipment at the facility before heading off to the villain lair to modify the rocket prop that was used for the movie. This would go on to become one of the biggest events in Fortnite's history, the rocket launch. The alarm started to go off, initiating a countdown of the rocket. It slowly starts to rise, with pieces breaking off the higher it gets. Once it's out of view, something changes. The rocket starts heading back down towards the island, locking onto tilted towers. Right as it's about to hit, a tear in space and time opens up, pulling the rocket into it. This is what's known as a rift. The rocket then appears out of another rift and then flies back into another one. This happens a few times before eventually coming out of one more and entering into a huge rift in the sky, disappearing for the time being. However, this rift stays in the sky. With this massive rift in the sky, time and space begins to destabilize around the island, causing random objects to fly away, such as the Durburger head statue and the motel sign, along with random objects drifting onto the island like dinosaur bones and sand and snow falling out of others. The Durburger head eventually makes its way to our reality in California. This sets up the next season. On July 12th, 2018, Season 5 of Chapter 1 launched with a new cinematic. It opens up showing the events previously mentioned at the end of the last season, with random objects disappearing off of the Fortnite island. It then cuts to California, where the Durburger head statue is. A random man is shown spray painting graffiti on it when suddenly a rift transports him to the Fortnite island, along with many other objects. If you've seen my video on Fortnite's Cold War, then you know who this man is. But for those of you who haven't, this is Drift. Drift gets found by a few characters exploring the island, such as Cuddle Team Leader, Rex, and Bright Bomber, and joins them on their road trip around the island, exploring everything new from the rift destabilization. Their first stop is to the nearby golf course that rifted onto the island, known as Lazy Links. They take some time to go golf and enjoy driving around some golf carts. The next stop is southeast, towards the new racetrack, trying to see how fast they can get the golf carts to go. After that, they head more south to the tropical city resort known as Paradise Palms and jump in for a pool party. One thing to also note is that over the course of the road trip, Drift acquires a new wardrobe along with a kitsune mask. Again, check out my Fortnite Cold War video or my short on the Fox Clan for more info on Drift and what the kitsune mask means. But back to the trip. Continuing further south, they come across a roadside attraction with some dinosaur statues and take some pictures with them. As evening begins to set in, they make their way back north to the drive-in theater known as Risky Reels to catch a movie. Here we can see Drift and Bright Bomber starting to form a connection with each other. After a long day, our characters head back west to a motel for a quiet stay, when a group of enforcers appear with a previously rifted away motel sign, putting it back in place. It was unknown at the time where they came from, but that'll be revealed in a future video, so stay tuned. The next morning, our characters make their way to check on the mysterious tomato temple that was once known as Tomato Town, home of the Pizza Pit restaurant. Around this time, something began happening with the giant rift in the sky. It began to shrink and close, turning purple in the process. Lightning began shooting out of it, striking a mountain in the southeast corner of the island. It sped up, and with the last strike, a giant purple cube appeared on the mountain. The cube had glyphs all over it and glowed when approached. It also had gravity-defying properties and began rolling around the island and produced runes on the ground with anti-gravity domes around them. At some point, our characters come across the cube and have fun taking pictures with it. However, Bright Bomber looks a little closer and notices something strange. Upon touching it, Bright Bomber sees her reflection, but it wasn't her staring back. It was an evil version of her, engulfed in dark cube energy, and a dark foreshadowing for the next season. At this point, this is the last we'll see for the road trip story. but not for the cube story. Eventually, it makes its way towards Loot Lake and rolls in, starting sinking. As this happens, it melts into the lake, fusing with the water, giving it gelatinous properties, causing the water to become purple and bouncy with gravity-defying properties, setting up Season 6. Season 6 began on September 27th, 2018 with another cinematic trailer. It opens up with some lifeguards putting up no swimming signs around Loot Lake due to the lake being infused with mysterious dark energy. A bright blue flash happens and the two lifeguards look at each other, wondering what that was, when suddenly the ground starts shaking as the middle island starts rising, pulling all the water towards it. Underneath the floating island is a cube from the previous season, with purple lightning propelling from it. Showing us the theme for this season, Darkness Rises. The dark energy of the cube attracts dark forces and monsters of the night, such as vampires and werewolves, as well as dark versions of previously seen characters such as Dark Bomber and Dark Rex. This causes turmoil for the island inhabitants as they fend for themselves while also worrying about the cube. The cube attached to the island floats around to the 7 glyphs it left in the previous season. It lifted those portions out of the ground, and in doing this, it absorbed the life energy from the main island that the glyphs were accumulating, causing those areas to wither and die, and drop them back down with now deactivated glyphs. After doing this with all 7, the cube island makes its way back to the lake, where it left a swirling vortex and a mysterious light shining from the center of the vortex. The cube island started pulling energy from the light, leading us to believe that something was important underneath. It then began beaming up energy into the sky, causing a portal to form and the island turning a purple hue. After collecting enough energy, the cube released a burst of energy, ripping the floating island into chunks and scattering fragments around the island. These fragments began to spawn zombie-like entities that became known as cube monsters. The cube monsters attacked any loopers in the vicinity, attempting to prevent the loopers from going near the cube. At this point, a deep fog also rolled over the island, setting the scene even more. However, this is where things started to really change. Cracks started forming in the cube from absorbing too much energy. Energy leaked from these cracks back down into the vortex until the cube became completely drained of energy. It then began rapidly spinning before exploding into a bright white light. This led to something unprecedented happening. The loopers were brought to a strange dimension known as the In-Between. This dimension is a white realm with balls of energy floating around and lines of energy leading to the center of the realm. In this realm, the loopers floated around for a bit, able to look around, and then, after a minute, a rift started to appear in the form of a butterfly. It approached the loopers, and upon contact, teleported them back to the island, now in the process of healing from the cube's destruction. The darkness, fog, and cube fragments all gone as well, and with that, bringing an end to the chapter's story. However, one more thing happened before the end of the season. Off into the distance, an iceberg appeared, shrouded in a blizzard, and a robot named AIM arrived on the island to scout it out and prepare for the next season. So if you guys have stuck around for this long in the video, I just want to thank you for watching. I honestly don't know how long this video is going to turn out because I recorded this part and the intro before I actually recorded myself reading the storyline portion of it. But again, I just want to thank you guys for watching. If you stuck around for this long video or short video, depending on how it turns out. The next video I'm going to put out, I plan on making it for seasons 3, 4, and the OG season, talking about the storyline for that, for the chapter 4 of the game. And then from that, it'll probably go on to chapter 2, and I hope to put out other videos from different franchises in the future. Like I keep on saying, I did make a short talking about a theory I had with the Mario games. If you guys have other video ideas for games, just let me know in the comments below. Please leave a like and a comment if you enjoy the video, and feel free to subscribe if you want to see more videos from me like this, or just other types of videos like gameplay videos and other lore videos. But again, thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you soon in the next video.